Welcome to Prescribing Lifestyle, the podcast that's all about empowering you to live your healthiest, happiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Avi Charlton, and each week we'll dive into the latest research, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you optimize your well-being. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and mindfulness, we'll explore every aspect of lifestyle medicine, giving you the tools you need to make informed decisions and take control of your health. Whether you're looking into preventing disease, managing chronic conditions, or simply elevate your quality of life, Prescribing Lifestyle is here to guide you on your journey to wellness. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on this transformative adventure towards a healthier, happier you. Let's dive in. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle. Today I have Martin Gillespie, who's from Scotland in Glasgow. He is the founder and CEO of Gem Wellness Warriors, a global consulting business focused on metabolic health and wellness. He had a background of corporate leadership spanning over 25 years. He shifted his focus in 2020 to improve health outcomes by addressing the root cause of chronic diseases. In 2021, he was recognized as one of the top 500 leaders in mental health globally. He lived in Australia, where I met him. He was in Sydney, but I met him in Gold Coast. And he moved from Sydney to Glasgow last year, expanding his impact, helping individuals reverse chronic illnesses, enhancing corporate well-being. And he launched a podcast, Metabolic Wellbeing Without the BS, sharing strategies for long-term health. He's an international keynote speaker and best-selling author, and he's a stage 4 cancer survivor dedicated to driving change in the society values health. So we were just talking before this, and he had so many guests in his podcast. So I'll get you to check out his podcast. Welcome, Martin. Thanks for coming on to Prescribing Lifestyle.
Thanks, Abby. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence, in your company, and your wisdom.
Thank you. Tell our listeners your journey. Just how did you get here into metabolic health?
So I always had a passion for nutrition, and I remember as a little boy, I was fascinated with what people would eat out in the oil rigs in the northern part of Scotland. I grew up in Glasgow, and food was always an interest to me. And in my teenage years, I was one of 5 kids, and my mum at that time didn't have the best health. So I took the responsibility of feeding my family, and that would be making dinners every night. And in all honesty, look, it's not where I am now, but at that time, and when you're feeding a family of 7 people, 2 adults, 5 kids, you learn to think on your feet. You learn all these life skills. You learn how to use a knife properly to cut things. You also become inquisitive.
Yeah.
And then I did my first degree in Aberdeen, actually, in the northern part of Scotland. And it involved a massive amount of nutrition because my first degree is in hotel catering and nutrition. So I was preparing menus for public at the age of 19, 20, working in kitchens and learning about seasonal vegetables and about the impact of why you put salt, for example, on food and how it enhances flavor. So I was always inquisitive, but my pathway changed dramatically when I was in my mid-20s, and I became more involved in the corporate world. And the corporate world took me from Glasgow to Australia. And I remember the first couple of weeks being in Australia going, my goodness, you get these vegetables and fruit all year round. How come? It was bizarre. I arrived in the year 2000, just before the Olympics in Sydney, and the atmosphere was electric.
Yeah.
And it was just a really good fun. I'm in my late 20s, having fun. But I was really intrigued with all the different flavors, Thai, Southeast Asian flavors. But I was also alarmed at how metabolically unhealthy the majority of Australians were. And this was
Yeah.
24, 25 years ago. When you
Probably
go
much
under
worse
the
now.
covers and
Yeah.
you actually look and you go, well, wait a minute. I was a runner, so your tribe were pretty fit people, but even runners, some runners look quite unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
confused, going, how come you can go and do a 20-kilometer run, but you've got a beer belly, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one really spoke about nutrition. And as you know, Abby, as a runner, it was always, let's get carb load before a run,
Yes.
right?
I used to
Have a
do that
bowl of
too.
pasta, right?
Yes.
And I remember my running coach at the time, who, believe it or not, was an elite runner herself. And she would always be saying, have a banana before a run, a 10K
Yes.
race,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I remember doing some 10K runs and needing to go to the bathroom halfway through it, and you go, what's happening here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it took my curiosity, and then it wasn't until 2012 when I realized the importance of food, and I saw it first at first glance. So for those who are unaware, 2012, I remember I was married at the time. I was sitting in my house at 4 or 5 kilometers north of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. My kids were 5 and 2 at the time. And I had a goal of that year to run a marathon. I'd done a few, and I was turning 42 at the time in 2012. And I thought 42 kilometers, 42 years on this planet. Kind of makes sense, right? But then the wheels came off. In the April of that year, my younger sister in Scotland at the age of 37 lost her life to breast cancer.
Mm.
And then 6 weeks later, my father was on a 6-foot wall around his house, chopping overhanging branches. And he slipped off the wall, and he had a pair of garden secateurs in his top pocket. And as he fell, the blade of the secateurs pierced him in the heart, and he bled to death.
Oh my God.
And then 6 months later, my marriage split up. And then 6 weeks after that, in November 2012, I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my God.
So there was a few bad words that I said, mostly beginning with the 6th letter of the alphabet and 4 letters long. And I was petrified. I knew a little bit about cancer because I'd seen Denise, my sister, pass from it, albeit remotely.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going down a chemotherapy pathway.
Yeah.
And I was petrified.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in the chemo ward, and it wasn't just the drugs that were being injected into me. Looking at the food that they were placing in front of me and fellow patients.
Yeah.
White bread sandwiches, muffins, cupcakes, breakfast cereal, and in Australia, a thing called Ensure.
Yes.
And even Up and Goes were delivered to you.
Ew.
And I'm looking going, this is crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it took me on a pathway to sort of relearn, to be honest, Abby. And it was actually a psychologist. And I'm for when you're going through any type of medical trauma, if you want to call it, and going through cancer.
Yep.
A call out for that patient and the carer. Please seek some counselling, seek some other modalities to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Don't be afraid to ask and receive help. And it was a psychologist that said to me, welcome to new beginnings. And that triggered me to go, wait a minute, I know I can get through these next couple of years of chemotherapy, medical checkups, etc. But I've got to look deeper and I've got to look at the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
And that took my curiosity to start learning other things or relearning,
Mm-hmm.
in particular, my passion for food.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried a lot of things. I remember going to see dietitians in Sydney and saying, here are the drugs that I'm getting injected, the chemotherapy drugs. Here are some of the downsides that I'm experiencing. So I had a thing, and you'll understand it, but maybe some of your listeners might not. I had a thing called peripheral neuropathy in my fingers. And to put it in
Yes.
simple terms, it's like constant pins and needles in your
Mm-hmm.
fingers
It's just because of the drugs, is it?
because of the drugs, in
Yeah.
particular one chemotherapy drug called vincristine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I could not have the skills to play Lego with my kids because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get two bits of Lego and join them
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was asking for help, but not one nutritionist or one dietitian said to me, here's what the drugs are doing to you. Here's a menu plan in order
Mm-hmm.
to activate your immune system.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought there's a gap here. All they did, Abby, was pull down a standard Australian diet and said, eat breakfast cereal, eat
Yeah.
10 vegetables a day,
Yeah.
lean meat. In fact, very little red meat. And I was
Yeah.
like, nah, there's
No.
something wrong here.
Well, it's great that you realized and yeah, onto it.
Yeah. And it took me on a pathway. It was actually, a few years later, I went to see a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to her and she said, listen, there's an organization called ACNUM. And for those who are
Mm-hmm.
aware, it's Australasian College of Nutritional Environmental Medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it opened my pathway going, wait a minute, I can learn about nutrition, I can learn about environment, I always had this passion actually of what do medics do? And having
Yeah.
experience seeing
Mm-hmm.
hematologists and dentists and
Yeah.
doctors over my journey
Mm-hmm.
going, what do you
Yeah.
smart people that claim to be doctors actually do? And one of the things that was really transparent to me is that a lot of medics, brilliant minds, right? You've trained and you've worked damn hard.
Yeah.
You speak in a language that a lot of people don't understand.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So how do we simplify some of that into common language? And I remember one of the parts of doing the foundation courses
Mm-hmm.
of ACNUM was 4 days at university, residential course. I remember on the third day taking the train to the venue and the tears are
Mm-hmm.
rolling down my face going, I'm so far out my depth here. What is
Yeah.
incredible? What are these things meaning in life?
Okay.
And it was a colleague of ours, actually, you'll know her. She's based in Melbourne, the wonderful Michelle Woolhouse,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Michelle.
Yes,
She
I know
was
Michelle.
emceeing, hosting it. And she's going around the table. There's about 40 of us in the room. And she's going around the room going, who practices here? What modality do you do? And there was naturopaths,
Yeah.
nutritionists, doctors. And by elimination, I'm sitting there with my arms folded. And another great medic who's over in Perth, Lucy Karate, she's nudging me, going, put your arm up, put your arm up. And I put my arm up and went, I'm GP, I'm general public, and I need to know this stuff and take it into a different level.
Yeah.
Take it to the corporate world,
Yeah.
which I knew. And that opened a pathway for me to sort of go, I need to share this with my corporate world
Yeah.
around the impacts of stress,
Yeah.
eating poorly, even consuming alcohol or too much alcohol, how that impacts your health.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it
Yeah.
took me on a pathway of learning. And unknown to me at the time in ACNUM, the board were in the same room as me and they started following me. And I started doing a
Okay.
little bit on social media, writing a couple of things.
Yeah.
And a year later, the chairman of ACNUM
Mm-hmm.
approached me and invited me to become a board director.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how my
Yeah.
involvement with ACNUM came
I
about.
remember that. I did lots of training with Actum, but I did it mostly during lockdown, so it's all online. There's nothing live. But when I joined Actum, you were on one of the boards.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that was
um,
interesting training, Acnom. So I almost followed myself, and then I've gone to a different path.
I think one of the great things, if you are a medic or medical professional,
Mm,
Acnom has some great courses there.
yeah,
It's not the silver bullet, but it does give that bridge
yes,
into what modality you want to follow.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's some great lessons there. I know recently they've just done a great couple of master classes on fertility, which they're
Okay,
getting great people talking on it.
yeah.
And you mentioned there about during lockdown. Again, another wonderful colleague who's based in Melbourne, Dr. Shami, and I
Oh yeah,
co-hosted a
yes,
couple of healthy debates,
yes. I watched from afar. Yes, bit
and
of
they were
carnivore
so much
and
carnivore against vegan, and
yes.
um, have doctors got it right around cholesterol,
Oh yes, yes. I watched both of these webinars.
and they
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 were
were such
great.
good fun.
Yeah.
But one of the key things that Acnum really opened my brain to
Hmm.
was how the impact of nutrition has on one's metabolic well-being. And to simplify it, when you stand up,
Mm-hmm.
the core of your physical body is your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not working properly, that's going to
Mm,
cause a mirage of ill health.
yeah,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
to use it in corporate language, what would your brain say to your gut in a performance review?
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
feeding me crap. Thanks for feeding me too much alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the one key thing, once you start learning these things, you learn the impact of stress, what stress has on your gut health.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it opens so many doors, and it kind of retrained me hugely from the corporate world. I'm now a certified nutritionist. I'm now certified in the Breston protocol, certified
Mm-hmm.
coach. But the one downside that I do see, both here in Europe and in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
is that people are in such denial of their health,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they don't check in with how to be healthy.
Everyone I ask, they all say they're eating healthy. That's usually the start, and they have no idea. I don't believe them anymore.
So you become cynical. And I remember actually learning a, a perfect example was, you ask the question, how many alcoholic drinks do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And if the patient or the client says, oh, I have three, you
Yeah.
multiply it by four and you go, you have 12, right? Because
Yeah.
people lie. And
Yes.
I know we mentioned this off camera. One of the little tools that I've been adopting is getting people to send me a photograph
Yeah.
of the contents of their fridge or where they keep what they regard as food.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So it's not invading their privacy, but it's understanding their behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's good tip for coaches.
And the other tip that I really advocate is, and I know you do a wonderful job now that you've kind of gone down the private consultation pathway to spend time with a patient, that's
Yeah.
critical,
Yeah.
is a call out. We all have a unique DNA, and the unique DNA we have is the day you're born, your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So a call out I have on your birthday, do yourself the best gift you can give yourself. Check in with a functional medical practitioner to get as
Mm.
many blood tests as possible
Okay.
and
Yeah.
talk to them about the why you get these blood tests. So HbA1c, understand what that actually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
For guys, get your PSA examined. For women, copper, ferritin, iron, really essential. Thyroid, really critical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also on your birthday, check in with an integrated dental practitioner. Get your teeth seen to.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
And the
Great tip.
third one, check in with an integrative health coach that can help take you and interpret these results
Yeah.
and help you on a pathway. And if you are a bloke who's who's got a significant other, tell that other that you want them to come with you and show
Yeah.
that vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. It does help a lot when a partner comes along. Yeah.
And you create that ripple impact of
Yeah.
you and I can only do so much, but
Mm.
when people have that curiosity, and one thing I love about what I do now is I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And the beauty of, I know that you do it extensively as well, is we ask for help from other medical professionals or other health professionals. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's
Yep.
the beauty of working in this space.
Yes. It's pretty amazing having all these connections that I do now and then there's Facebook, there's doctors, low carb keto doctors group. Then I just pop the question and people, smarter doctors like Liz Fraser and Ron Schweizer, they will comment, and Penny Victory will put a comment. And yeah, it's pretty well to be connected to all these clever doctors.
It is. And, one of the benefits I find, as I mentioned, getting people to get blood tests, I always ask my clients, are you okay if I share your blood test results with other medics? Because the beauty I find is that when I ask a medical practitioner to look at certain blood tests, you might see something I can't see.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And that's critical. And, we can work together and go,
Yeah.
wait a minute, the liver enzymes might be out a little bit
Hmm.
here. Look at cortisol levels, look at stress levels.
Yeah.
And that's a service we provide, if that makes sense. And the
Yeah.
community of well-being is huge.
Yeah, that's great. So is that what you're doing in Scotland now, is health coaching mostly?
I am, yes. And to be honest, most of it is one-on-one stuff. I mentioned the training that I did, seems like a couple of years ago now, on the Breston protocol, which for those who don't know is the protocol around prevention for Alzheimer's and dementia.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
It's quite an extensive protocol. There's 36 steps in it.
yeah.
But I'll share one of the little tips that people can do right away on cognitive awareness. And it's something we all do every single day. Avi, you're right-handed, aren't you?
Yep. Hmm.
Okay. A call out to all your listeners and you and I, start brushing your teeth with your less dominant arm.
Okay, all right.
Now
Never
you'll
heard of
make
that.
a complete boo-boo of yourself. And what that
Yeah,
does is a simple little task.
yeah.
It creates the awareness. I'll use a pen to demonstrate. It creates the awareness that you're holding it in your least dominant arm and you're brushing your teeth. So it's sending those signals from the pathway from the end of your fingers to your brain.
Okay, that's
It's 2
interesting.
minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night time. And if you're doing it, you can encourage your kids and your partner to do them.
Okay,
And it's
strengthens the
something you
brain,
can
I suppose.
incorporate right away. And
Yeah,
that is a little pathway that every single day you are protecting your brain health.
awesome. That's great. Yeah, I actually looked into the Bredesen protocol before, and I had a patient who really wanted me to look into it. But yeah, it's too many causes that I want to do, too many things I want to learn. I need
It's
more hours in a day.
it was for me one of the outstanding aspects is that dementia and Alzheimer's, you don't wake up at the age of 60 with those diseases.
Yeah, yeah.
And 80% of the presentations are very similar between Alzheimer's, dementia, type 2 diabetes, and cancer.
Mm,
And the evidence is there that they all permeate in the gut.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Alzheimer's is now called type 3 diabetes.
Yeah.
It's if you have type 2 diabetes, you're much, much higher chance of getting Alzheimer's. And we're thinking it's a lack of glucose going into the brain and not enough fuel. That's
Well, it's interesting you say that.
yeah.
So type 2 diabetes, unfortunately, isn't sexy, to put it mildly.
Mm,
It
mm,
doesn't sell newspapers. And one major thing I have noticed since moving back to Scotland
mhm,
is the over-reliance people have on medical practitioners in particular to say,
mm,
just give me a pill for my diabetes and I'll be fine.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's not the way forward. I'm for medication with efficacy, and I think one great thing about people like yourself who are medical practitioners that I know one of the ethoses that you guys advocate is almost like a de-prescription model. Getting people off these medications is really important at times with the right training.
Absolutely. It's so rewarding getting people off the medications, and the patients that are into it really appreciate that we tell them, oh, you don't need this anymore because you've done your lifestyle changes. So I love this practice. This is one of the things that keep me going all the time, keep every day.
It's joyous, and it's, in fact, I've got a client that I'm coaching, and he's metabolically obese. And
Hmm.
one of the things that triggered him to start taking these lifestyle changes, he said, Martin, I need your help. I said, look, one of the things that you be prepared for is that when you start making these changes, you may have to go and get a new wardrobe because the
Yeah,
clothes that you're wearing just now won't fit you.
yeah, yeah,
It was a trigger. He said to me that his motivation. He said, my wife will go out with me to buy new clothes with such joy.
yeah, yeah.
So be
Great.
prepared. Once you start going down this pathway, your body shape changes.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
start losing this weight. Be prepared to put $1 or $2 in the savings bucket. You will
yeah.
need new
That's
clothes.
great. And did this particular client lose a lot of weight? Or you don't know
Yes.
yet? Yeah?
So he's on the pathway now. He's following a pretty good protocol. He's lost around 15 kilos in 2 months.
Wow, that is a lot.
So that's a lot. I'm like, this guy is huge,
Okay.
to put it mildly. So
Yep.
he's lost, but I tell you what is so rewarding, Abby,
Hmm.
is his motivation to keep going.
Yeah, that's great.
There have been some, he's come off the bandwagon, and that's where the coaching really is rewarding to sort
Yeah,
of check in with them and go, mate, how you doing? Boom. Oh, this didn't work for me. I felt, and you understand their feelings as they're going through this pathway.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. That's good.
Um, and one of the other ones I had was a female actually that 7 years ago, a female
Mm.
age mid 40s was obese 7 years ago and unfortunately went to, and this is common in Europe, going to Turkey and
Mm.
getting surgery. She got a gastric sleeve put in.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
And now she's in a world of pain going,
Mm.
why is this not working for me?
Mm.
Because nobody told her about changing her lifestyle.
Yeah, no. Same in Australia. I don't think it's taught about.
Now, I do get it that, again, many people look for the quick fix.
Yeah,
When you're going under the knife for it, you've got to ask yourself, are you prepared to make those further changes?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of these patients that once they've got the fixed idea that they've started that they're going to have bariatric surgery, very hard to change their mind. I tried, and then they quite often they want to have the surgery, and that's it.
I, again, a big call out for medics. If I went out today and I went for a run and unfortunately someone knocked me down in a car, I want a good medic to look after me.
Mm,
But
of
those who
course.
are doing cosmetic surgery, I get why they want to do it. But if you're prepared put the hard yards in, how are you going to
Mm,
feel in 6 or 12 months from now?
mm,
You've dropped a couple of dress sizes. You've changed the belt buckle in your belt holding up your pants. You've
mm,
gone from this size of waist to another size of waist.
mm.
Wow, how are you going to feel and the energy that you're going to have?
Exactly. And this is really treating the root cause. We're improving health and we're not just getting a quick fix with cutting a bit of stomach off. So yeah, this is the way to go. Lifestyle changes.
And I call out, and it's one thing that have been really pushing over the last 12 months in particular. In Australia, and now that I'm looking at it from a different light, Abby, Australia is very much a coffee culture,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's getting there in Europe, that without shadow of a doubt, go to Italy, espresso. But the coffee culture is first thing in the morning.
Yes.
Please, 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 I call out a simple little biohack. Get your biggest glass that you have in your house and get nice filtered cold water and a teaspoon, sorry, a teaspoon, the smaller size of spoon of good salt in that water first thing in the morning.
Yep, yep.
Please hydrate. One key thing that I feel sometimes we forget when we go down that food is medicine
Mm-hmm.
pathway
Mm,
is we forget about the impact of hydration.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And
quite
that's
often
really
patients just,
critical.
yeah, they don't know they need so much salt and water.
Salt and water, and
Mm-hmm.
please don't drink the crap that you get in
Mm-hmm.
supermarkets. And one thing, again, this is observational here that I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed in Scotland.
Yep.
If I go out on an early morning run, the amount of people who are drinking, and I'm going to call it out here, high energy drinks, Red Bull, V's,
Yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Yep.
I was at my local gym and the gym instructor, this is 8 o'clock in the morning, the gym
Yep.
instructor was consuming a Red Bull.
Yeah.
I'm going, mate, your pathway is just
Yeah. Yeah.
wrong.
That's it. Probably the caffeine won't help with his cortisol. He'll be stressed out, and with the workouts, it's just not a very good combination.
And another little biohack that I've been playing around with some clients, and especially those who have got teenagers, and I know that you've got
Mm-hmm. Yep.
two boys.
Two boys, yes.
So two key things that I have is I'm a huge fan of, and I know that you've been doing some brilliant work on breath work.
Yes.
So cold showers or cold baths.
Yep.
So get an A4 sheet of paper and put it onto your fridge with a magnet and put
Yep.
everybody's name on the top and pick 2 or 3 days of that week that you're all going to have a cold bath.
Oh,
And you
okay. All
keep
right.
each other responsible. So say, for example, you want to do it on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
cold bath, cold shower on a Wednesday morning. On a Tuesday night, you've got the responsibility to keep each other responsible for doing that the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can have a bit of a play around and go, remember, you've got to do this tomorrow morning. So you've got that competitiveness happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I did ask my teens, and they're not interested at all in cold bath, cold showers.
It is, one major thing that I've noticed here in Scotland, which is brilliant, regardless of the weather. There's massive communities here that every single day will go into the lochs and do wild swimming.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's fabulous to see. And we're talking in wintertime. It is bloody cold here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the water, um, we went to a place in the Highlands actually last November,
Hmm.
and the water was at least -4 or -5.
Oh my God. I can't do it.
It was beautiful, amazing.
Hmm.
Um, Again, you've got the natural aspect, and it's funny. When I relocated from Australia to
Hmm.
Scotland, many people had this conception oh, but you won't get any vitamin D in Scotland. There's no sunshine.
Yeah.
But are you aware that the Nordic countries, so Norway, Sweden, as an example, they don't have a vitamin D problem.
No.
Why? Because they consume good, healthy fats.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, people think vitamin D is just from sunlight, and it's actually much more than that. It reflects your metabolic health with good vitamin D levels. So if you have good metabolic health, you're more likely to have good vitamin D.
Couldn't agree more. And you mentioned actually just earlier around cortisol. One thing that I am seeing here, and I don't know if you're seeing this, and I've rephrased it, is cortisol social jet lag.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So a lot of people here in Scotland might not actually work in Scotland. They might work
Okay.
in other geographies. So for example, you can fly from Glasgow to Spain and it's 3 hours.
Okay.
So people do that on a weekly basis. So your
Oh,
different time zones, your different sleep patterns,
yeah,
different environments.
yeah.
So the cortisol level in one's body is quite high because they're jumping on a plane, they're going to a different location, right? The social jet lag, they're in different time zones, they're
Yeah, yeah,
sleeping in a warm bed.
yeah.
When they get back to their home
Mm,
location, their whole metabolic health is out of sync.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's almost like shift working, if that makes sense.
Mm,
It's
yeah,
incorporated that they're working late at night in a hotel,
yeah,
online, doing a spreadsheet till 10 or 11 in the morning, 11 at night, and then they're
yeah,
getting up at 5 to go to the hotel gym,
yeah,
not
yeah,
getting outside, poor sleep. And as I said, it's almost like a social jet lag that's
yeah.
happening to them.
Mm,
So you have to be mindful of the life that you're leading and how
absolutely.
to value your well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's probably not as much a problem in Australia because we don't usually travel across time zones unless you're going to Perth. But lots of people do shift work, and I see them, and that causes a lot of stress and high cortisol problem.
So I think that it's funny you mentioned the phrase of shift working.
Mm,
I've got a friend who's doing a lot of work in Ireland, believe it or not, with rail workers, and shift working the boundaries now have completely changed on
mm,
people's working life.
okay.
We're working with blue screens till
Yes,
late at night.
yes,
So shift working, the hours of the traditional shift working, more and more people are doing them, and the
yep,
impact on one's health is huge.
yes, yes,
People are
yeah.
on screens till 10, 11 o'clock at night and putting the laptop down and going straight to bed.
Yep,
You're not allowing your body to relax before you go to sleep.
yeah, absolutely. I'm probably guilty of all of that as well, working late
Well,
in the evening.
it's funny. One of the things that I'm blessed with having a Scottish accent, and no
Yeah,
matter how many years I spent in Australia,
yeah,
one thing that we Scots do is we enunciate the letter R very strongly.
yeah.
So we don't say I'm brilliant. We roll the letter R and we go I'm brilliant. So a little tip that I do with people when I'm speaking in public or doing workshops, if you take, and you can do this in your home actually,
Yeah,
when you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom and you look in the mirror and you're brushing your teeth with your least dominant arm,
yeah.
take your left hand, put it over your right shoulder, give yourself a pat in the back and say, I am brilliant, and feel your body vibrate,
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah,
And it's a bit of fun. So be kind to yourself when you're going
yeah,
through personal transformation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. That's a great tip.
And that's a little, and you can say it quietly to yourself or loudly. So if you're at home and your boys hear you saying, I am brilliant, they're going to think you're mental, right? They think you've
Yeah.
lost your top, mum's going mental.
Yeah.
But when you explain to them why you do it and how it makes you feel, one, they'll
Yeah.
still think you're bonkers, but it makes you feel good. So
Yeah.
when you feel good, you make good decisions.
That's it. Oh, that's brilliant, Martin. That is great. Well, how about you tell us where people can find you? Tell us about the name of your podcast again.
So the podcast is Metabolic Wellbeing without the BS. And
Mm-hmm.
you can take a guess of what the BS stands for.
Yeah.
And really, I created this as a platform for
Mm-hmm.
real stories and a combination, and I'm looking forward to recording with yourself, Abby, a
Yeah.
combination of taking medical practitioners who have gone out on a limb to help people and
Yeah.
on a preventative care. But it's also some brilliant stories from real people. And released on it, I've got people like Thomas Seafred that released, my Scottish mate Malcolm Kendrick, who authored the Cholesterol Con back in 2006.
Yeah.
But I also have real stories. I'll give you an example of some of the stories. A wonderful lady who's based here in Scotland, who is now a naturopath,
Mm-hmm.
but her first love was being a hairdresser.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I'm follically challenged.
Yeah.
I don't have much up the top.
No.
But females in particular go to
Mm-hmm.
the hairdressers and they tell their own story.
Mm.
Feel safe. They're in there for an hour or 2 hours. But your hair tells you an awful lot about your health.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So she found that clients were coming to her, and within a few minutes, she could open those clients up
Mm-hmm.
and find out what's happening in their well-being.
Mm.
So she's changed from a hairdresser to a naturopath.
Yeah.
I've got another guy who, at the age of 40, from
Yeah.
his early 40s, originally from the UK, went to Dubai for several years, and then from Dubai went to Hong Kong. So he's in Hong Kong, he's late 30s, single guy. Hong Kong, very fast environment,
Yes.
but very work hard, play hard. And I mentioned
Yeah.
there about cortisol, social jet lag.
Yeah.
You work hard during the day. What do? You're single. You go to the pub.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up going down a pathway of relying heavily on alcohol.
Oh no.
Alcohol led him down a pathway to cocaine
Oh dear.
and ended up with a brain tumor.
Oh wow.
He doesn't drink anymore. He doesn't take cocaine, obviously, anymore.
Yeah.
And he's reversed his brain tumor due to a ketogenic diet.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
So he
Yeah.
didn't realize the impact of food, but he said, I didn't want to die,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
right?
Yeah.
So food is incredible. And one of the key things that I know we're recording this as we go down that pathway to going
Mm-hmm.
into summer for you in Australia, and it's winter here. A key step that people can take right away is
Mm-hmm.
start learning about the impact of sugar.
Yes.
Start understanding that there are over 200 words in the English language for the word sugar. And
Mm.
if I can swear on this, shit is not one of them. It causes so much damage to your body.
Yeah.
Start being aware of what it does to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's just a lot of good tips, Martin.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on. We might have to wind this up, or we can keep going for hours and hours. We have so
Look,
much that we can talk about.
it's early morning here, and I'm about to go on a 16K run.
Yeah.
I said to you off camera, one of the great things I see about people like yourself, we advocate, and you advocate it hugely.
Yeah.
You lead by example.
Yeah.
And it is such a pleasure being on this platform with you, knowing that
Mhm.
we're only human. There are days that we have that are crap days, that we need energy from other people. And I know today when I go for my run, I'm going to be thinking about this conversation and all the great work that you're doing down in one of my favourite cities, down in Melbourne.
That's it. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Martin. Thank you for coming on to my Prescribing Lifestyle podcast. And that was brilliant with a Hong Kong accent, Hong Kong Aussie accent.
Thank you, my friend. It's been a pleasure spending time with you today.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all the listeners for tuning in. Until next time, we'll bring another guest over to Prescribing Lifestyle podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle podcast. Before we wrap up, I have an exciting news to share. I have a new ebook called Low Carb Made Easy. It's now available. This guide is perfect for anyone looking to dive into the low carb lifestyle. Inside, you'll find the basic theory behind low carb eating, a detailed food list, practical meal plan, and a variety of delicious recipes. It's designed to make a journey to better health easier, simpler, and enjoyable. For those who prefer a hard copy, head over to my website and register your interest using the link provided. My website is www.mlcclinic.com.au. Head to online store. Remember, the information shared in this podcast, it's for educational purposes only and not proper medical advice. Always consult your medical professional before making any changes to your lifestyle and diet, or you can come and see me in Melbourne Low Carb Clinic. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on social media. Your feedback will help us improve and reach more listeners. Lastly, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. Together, we can make a positive impact to our health and our communities. Thanks again for listening, and as always, stay healthy and happy. Until next time.